What if a cause could start a journey? What if a building could start an inspiration? What if a bridge could start a discovery? What if architecture could start a conversation? What if a garden could start an evolution? What if ideas could start the future?
Hello and good evening, everyone. My name is Yasmin, and a very warm welcome to the Singapore online premiere of the all-new Audi e-tron GT. I'm really excited, and I hope you are as well. The e-tron GT is Audi's first fully electric sports car, and it represents a very important milestone by showcasing, I think in spectacular fashion as well, what premium electric mobility will look like. Now, it's no secret that the age of electric vehicles is upon us. And if you think about it, Singapore, we are the perfect place for this. Now, tonight we have a great show planned for you with local and international guests to inform and hopefully to inspire you. And of course, lots more about the all-new Audi e-tron GT. And so, without further delay, let's welcome our first guest.
Progress to me means taking the first step and making sure I follow through it until I reach my goal. I get inspiration from the things around me. It could be a place, a person, an object. It's unlimited. Nature is where I get the most inspiration from, and you can see that in the artworks that I create. Art can evoke emotions. I aim to make art that uplifts and inspires, to make people see the beauty in the everyday things and feel grateful for what they have. Luxury for me is an experience. It's about feeling the joys and thrills. I want to know more about its history, the fine craftsmanship, and how the experience is tailor-made for me.
Hi Grace, thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to the online premiere of the new Audi e-tron GT. So maybe you could share with us how you became an artist.
Thanks for having me. Well, I've always loved drawing and painting since young, but being an artist was never a career I pursued. So one night while I was drawing, a single rose wilting on my desk caught my eye. Even near death, its colors just stood out from the clutter that is my workspace. I thought, what if I could immortalize its elegance and beauty to the fashion illustration I was working on? I didn't really have a concrete idea of how the patterns would incorporate into my drawing, but once they came together on paper, it was clear to me how they complemented the flows and folds of fabric. I shared it on Instagram and the response was amazing. Fast forward to today, I feel really blessed to do what I enjoy for a living and work with luxury brands that I love.
That's really inspiring. Even the way that you described it was so poetic. And I know you work with many different luxury brands. So speaking of luxury, what is your definition of luxury as an artist?
I think luxury in the realm of design must always be both pleasing to the senses and fulfill the intended function.
I absolutely agree with you. So what is your impression when you first saw this baby, this Audi e-tron GT?
It's beautiful. It looks really sophisticated and its design is confident and bold. There's no need for it to shout to prove itself. I love the way the form flows together in an almost organic way, like a fabric or skin. And it also has this charm that sets your heart beating a little faster.
Right? And that's exactly what I felt as well. And you know, I think that's what a good design does. It gets your heart beating a little bit faster. It's like falling in love. And you know, the Audi calls this car the GT, which stands for Gran Turismo, which is a reference to the whole romance of taking long drives and long road trips. So speaking of design, what do you think makes good design?
Well, visual balance is important for a good design. You want to have a great mix of big themes and small details. The aesthetics should also complement the function of the design, so it becomes a joy to look at and to use.
Okay, then how would you describe the design of this car?
Well, with Audi, we've come to expect distinctive and powerful lighting design, like the head and tail lamps. The lights are something that always capture my attention on the road. The design is also very disciplined in terms of how the lines and shadows are used. Audi always features very sharp lines that not only look very smart, but also convey precision and technology. I love how Audi, as a luxury car brand, sets itself apart in its design and signature elements.
Well, thank you so much, Grace, for being here with us, and we wish you all the best. Now, Grace has been giving us her view on Audi design, and now we have a chance to hear from the very person who is responsible for this car's fantastic looks. Here's Mark Lichter, Audi's head of design.
The basis for good design are proportions. And the proportions are defined by the package. And the package and the proportion of the e-tron GT are simply perfect. This car offers space for 4 people. It's a 4-seater, 4 doors. And this is a modern interpretation of a classical Gran Turismo. The Audi e-tron GT offers 9 different exterior colors, which you combine with different leather colors, different stitching, and with fabrics, recycled fabrics. We combine on one hand performance and sustainability. This is visible in exterior design by these aerodynamic features like air curtain, flush rocker, this sharp edges, huge diffuser in the rear end. And this is improving the aerodynamics, and with this, the range. In interior, this is getting visible by the leather-free interior. For the first time, you offer in the Audi e-tron GT a leather-free interior. That means all the carpets are made from recycled PET bottles. And the seats cover is made from recycled fabric and PET bottles. So this is for the first time we offer a really sustainable approach at Audi. The detail at the Audi e-tron GT, which I like most, is the rear quattro muscle. You know, this huge, almost half-meter muscle, which is shaped very dramatic. And this is my favorite detail. And it has been a big challenge to realize this in metal, a fender like this.
Mark Lichter has designed many cars in his career, and he said the e-tron GT is his best ever design so far. Well, I'm looking forward to see what he can come up with next. Now, he also talked a little about materials and textiles. And on that note, let's welcome our next guest, who will share with us her thoughts on the Audi e-tron GT.
Progress to me means looking back in history and not just celebrating the triumphs, but also owning the mistakes we've made and evolving from them. If I could shape the future, it would be one that has equity for those left behind, one that seriously considers the kind of planet we will leave for our children. Ever since I started making my own yarn, I value the intentionally slow and thoughtful steps, carefully picking the natural materials which go into my yarn. There is a kind of beauty in the mindfully made.
Hello, Jeanette. So happy to have you here with us. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Now, you are a multi-hyphenate. Maybe you could share with us your career milestones.
Before my academic career, I worked as a web consultant on projects for a vast range of high-profile clients in the FMCG and banking sectors. I used to co-own a fashion label called Frou Frou and Tiger Lily. I really enjoy being involved in multiple fields to achieve my creative vision. Many have asked me, what if you had to stick to just one thing? But it isn't about trying a variety of disciplines for the sake of it. For me, it's about the process of making and the joy and the journey of making. I'm not interested in staying within society's ideas of what a woman should be. This frees me up to wear many creative hats, such as being a DJ, a visual artist, a fashion and accessories designer, a lecturer, alternative rock musician, and mum.
That is absolutely amazing. I don't know how you do it. You must really manage your time super duper duper well. Now, being in the fashion industry yourself, maybe share with us what you think makes a product premium and desirable.
When we talk about a premium or luxury product, people usually focus immediately on how something looks, the aesthetic values. But what truly differentiates are the materials and tactile elements. It's how things are supposed to work and feel to your senses. They leave a lasting impression and create an emotional connection with the user. Increasingly, the challenge is to stay true to the premium values while recognizing the environmental impact of our designs and products. This may seem like polar opposites, but the brands that embrace the challenges today are the winners.
So then what are your requirements when you choose what products to buy?
I believe in authenticity, and authenticity has to be there at every touch point. Often it involves all the senses, pleasing to see, touch, and use, and also to smell. I believe that when you establish that emotional attraction to the product, it's almost difficult not to buy. In the case of the e-tron GT, I think it really speaks to the target buyer, but more than that, it says a lot about Audi as a brand. Visually, the interior, especially this rich, dark tone, exudes a sense of solidity. The materials that you touch are soft, but also carry a sense of strength, like how the seats are ergonomically shaped to support the body. The digital interfaces feel like necessities rather than needless embellishments. It's a nice balance of a no-nonsense cabin and a very welcoming, almost organically styled ambiance.
Now, Jeanette, I guess in your role at LaSalle, you are shaping the designers of tomorrow. So in a broader sense, if you had all the power in the world, how would you like to shape the future?
In the academic world, many concepts are theorized and studied to large extents. But it's more important to me that everyone takes action, no matter how small our actions may be. Audi is bigger than most companies. I've learned that it is already taking big steps in the realm of sustainability. And it's in a very relevant way as well. Its factories are all working to be carbon neutral, effectively reducing its impact on the environment.
And I'm really, really happy that Audi is really committing itself to creating sustainable mobility for consumers. But you know what? Back to the e-tron GT. Jeanette, share with us what impresses you the most about this car. So there's a lot of things, but just one.
It's got to be the interior. It's a feast for the senses, perfectly executed and being just enough to excite, but not so much as to distract or be tiring. There are hints to the car being not a conventional vehicle that runs on fuel, but there are still plenty of references to the traditional language of an intimate sports car. It's like the car from the future.
You know what? I think I'll go as far to say it is the car of the future. Thank you so much, Jeanette, for being here with us. Thank you. Now, let's have a closer look behind the scenes at what goes into the design process of the Audi e-tron GT's interior. Let's hear from Simona Felcinella, Head of Color and Trim at Audi.
Colors are around us, everywhere, in every moment. You just breathe it in. Be open to every kind of input. I am Simona Falcinella. I'm Italian, and I'm the responsible of the color and trim department in Audi Design. Every material has a different dimension. We're talking about the invisible or even the difficult to express. And now we touch. It's very important to bring to our client or in our product a readable material. In the e-tron GT, we are very proud to propose some option leather-free. In this case, for example, for this textile, we use a big percentage of sustainable fiber. And the big work we did is really to have a wool effect, a tailor-made men typical textile. No? When you enter in your car, every morning you sleep inside, no? So you have a very subtle sound, and you recognize this sound is your car. And it's still sporty and it's still perfect, so great. The gloss of the material is something that we work a lot. Never too shiny, never too matte. And I think the effect is Audi, totally essence Audi. I think that is really the subtle design that is touching the person, the perception. And the closer you get to the final product, this total creativity and freedom become technology. The strength of the color and trim department is really the teamwork. So we mix these three so that we can talk hours about a shade of a color. We work separately, each one on his own, on the very expertise of the material. And then we get together and everything fits, everything works. It's kind of magic. As designers, we have the privilege, but even the responsibility to really direct our project since the first step towards a preservation of our planet.
That's Simona Felcinella, Head of Color and Trim at Audi. And who would have known that so much effort has been put into every tiny detail in the seats and every surface you can find in the car? Now we know. Now, next guest will take us into the realm of technology. Let's hear from him.
Progress is all-encompassing. Real progress is achieved only when you create something that is not only desirable to an individual, but should also be sustainable in the long run. I get my inspiration by looking at everyday people, their needs, wants, struggles, and why it is sometimes difficult to do the right thing, even though everybody knows what the right thing to do is. I think about what technology we can develop so that it becomes easier to do the right things. Electric mobility is the future. It started as the right thing to do. It now must also become the desired thing to do in order to make real progress for the future.
Hi, Alan. Thank you so much for joining us here today. So happy you can be with us. And you have a story that's very close to my heart. Food!
Yes.
Who doesn't love food? So what made you venture into food technology?
I ventured into food technology because both my grandmothers passed away with diabetes complications, and 5 out of 6 of my mom's siblings were diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. T2D is largely affected by diet, especially refined carbohydrate intake, and I noticed it was always difficult for people to stay away from their desire of great tasting food instead of focusing on what is truly important for them, their health. So I asked myself, what if I could improve the health properties of daily staples such as white rice and bread without altering their taste? That's preserving the taste we all enjoy while lowering the associated health risk. So we developed the alchemy fiber ingredient that can be easily added into food to make it healthier. We also partnered many existing food brands so that their consumers can benefit without having to make big changes to their existing habits. I believe the best way to use technology is to be able to implement them without users making big compromises.
Wow, that is so interesting. And you know, Singaporeans, we love food so much. How do you say no to good food even when you know it's not really good for your health, right? Now, how do you think technology can power the future?
It already is, and technology doesn't always have to be in your face. It's the benefits that technology brings that make impossible things possible or making difficult things easy that makes technology so attractive. The Audi e-tron GT, I believe, reflects this. I can tell that technology plays a big role in the final product, but at the same time, when I get into the car to use it, I don't have to be a master of coding or automotive technology to enjoy what it can do.
So tell us, what are you most impressed with the e-tron GT?
Its ability to offer not just state-of-the-art technology, but it does so in a very natural way, taking away the friction and apprehensions that come with new technology. For example, electric vehicles used to be criticized for their lack of operating range. There's a fear that the EV can't bring you to your destination, or worse, it gets you there and can't bring you back. You won't want to be left stranded on the highway. With the e-tron GT, when I push the start button, it tells me we have more than 400 kilometers of range. That's more than enough for me to go about doing my things for the entire week with plenty to spare.
Now, let's talk about charging speeds as well. The Audi e-tron GT has one of the fastest charging speeds for a production car. Now, with the ultra high-speed chargers that are becoming so available, a 5-minute charge can give you up to 100 kilometers of range. So that's really productive. And if I'm not wrong, up to as recent as 2019, we were talking about getting 100 kilometers of range with 10 minutes at the charger. So now that has been halved. Talk about advancements, right? Isn't that pretty exciting?
Yasmin, you're right on how fast things are progressing. I'm also excited about how these new and cutting-edge technologies that appear on the higher end of the spectrum are able to very quickly find their way into more common models. That means that very quickly, we will also be able to enjoy this sort of ultra-quick charging, or even quicker still, because technology is moving so fast and becoming more accessible.
Exactly. Plug in, charge, boom, ready to go. Now, you had a ride in the e-tron GT earlier, right? So what is the experience like?
I was blown away. The performance is so impressive, and the actual experience was something remarkable, totally unexpected. But what really surprised me was the sound of the car when it's on the move. I've heard what electric cars sound like on the road, but the sound of the e-tron GT is completely different. It's different from the sound of a traditional sports car, but I could immediately pick out that it's a very sporty noise.
You know, Audi says that the sound is actually carefully engineered and sampled from different instruments and objects. So the result is something that sounds so futuristic, but still really cool.
It's nothing I've heard and can ever imagine a car to produce myself.
That is absolutely true. On that note, thank you so much, Alan, for joining us here today. We're really happy to have you with us. Now, speaking of the e-tron GT sound, there's so much that has gone into creating that beautiful futuristic tune. Let's find out more.
The design of a car sound is a long road. In the beginning, there is always an inspiration. Everything and nothing can be inspiring. Sometimes an idea may seem exceptional, but often it is the most usual object that creates the most exciting and useful sound. To make a sound work in every different state, when accelerating or braking, you need the right tools, the right instruments, just like in music. But unlike a song, the sound of a car is continuous. There is no beginning, no middle part, and no end. That is why Audi created its own pioneering digital method. Like they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words, or in the case of the all-new Audi e-tron GT, this sound is worth 1,000 words.
Wow, what an incredible process that was to engineer such a unique and sporty driving sound of the e-tron GT. Now, when you hear it in person, it really sounds so futuristic and out of this world. But you know what? Don't take our word for it. You've got to experience it for yourself. So we've covered how the car sounds, but what about the way it drives? Our final guest would tell us more about his experience with the e-tron GT.
Progress to me means moving forward to a certain destination or a desirable outcome, but I like to think of progress in terms of moving away from something. Before we can embrace or even accept new ideas, we have to let go of old ones. I hope we move away from conspicuous consumption and towards enlightened consumption. That means choosing products that not only reflect a vision we have of our ideal selves, but ones that reflect our vision of an ideal world. Progress is rooted in Audi's heritage as an innovative company. Many things like all-wheel drive, aluminium space frame, the twin-clutch auto, and the virtual cockpit, they're all taken for granted today, but I remember either encountering them first in an Audi or seeing them being ushered into the mainstream by Audi. It's really as if the people who work at Audi try to see the world differently from everyone else.
Hi, Julian. Happy you're with us here today. So you are the car expert. Maybe give us a little insight to what do you do every day from morning to night? What do you do? Drive cars?
That's pretty much it. And I've been driving cars and writing about them for 26 years.
Wow.
And you know, cars have always represented individual freedom, and they are still a part of overall mobility. But now automotive brands are racing to come up with solutions for a zero emissions future. But what if we could look beyond figures? I mean, any car company could get to zero tailpipe emissions with X amount of range and 0 to 100 in X seconds. But can e-mobility be more than just numbers? I think we'll get some answers with these two models of the Audi e-tron GT.
So what was your impression when you first saw the e-tron GT?
There are these big moments in the history of every significant car brand, and I think the e-tron GT will go down as one of those big moments for Audi. And that's alongside the first ever R8 supercar. And for those of us old enough to remember, there was this time when Audi was picking up all these trophies from rally championships with the Ur Quattro. I mean, there's the way the e-tron GT looks, of course, with the familiar design language that we've come to expect from Audi, along with sheet metal that really seems to be hugging every sinew under the skin. You know, you can really see how the designers have expressed the engineer's work, which is really, really cool. There's the stats, of course, which, being an EV, have to include not just stupendous 0 to 100 performance, but also operating range and charging speeds. In that respect, both the e-tron GT and the RS e-tron GT are pretty much at the sharp end of what's possible with EVs today.
Nice. Now, you briefly mentioned some performance attributes. So tell us more about what you think of the performance in the RS e-tron GT.
Okay, so on paper, 0 to 100 in 3.3 seconds is a serious number.
Okay.
So 0 to 100 like this, right? 1001, 1002, 1003, and you're done.
Bam!
In that brief 3.3 seconds, the shove is just relentless. And there's now a very real chance of a driver turning his own face green with his own driving. But as I said, it's more than stats, because even as you plant your foot down and try to rearrange the contents of your passenger's stomach, the e-tron GT is also delivering sublime handling with just the right kind of sounds to inform your other senses that something special is going on. But what gets less mention is the feel you get from the car. The e-tron GT has meaty feel from the brake pedal, and that gives you plenty of confidence. And let's not forget the regenerative braking, and that recuperates energy as you drive. And when you work the wheel, the entire chassis responds really sweetly. The suspension not only smooths over bumps on the road, but it also allows the car to deploy its immense performance with very little fuss, and it keeps the body under control really, really nicely. There's obviously a lot of grip from those wide tires and the e-quattro system, but you always feel like you're part of the action. You're constantly plugged into what's going on underneath you. The result? 5-star driver satisfaction. And when you're done driving like a bat out of hell, the GT does a remarkable impression of a limousine as well.
Now, what do you think about Audi and its plans for electric mobility?
Well, car companies are in a race now to be the answer to the world's e-mobility needs. And Audi's make big announcements about its plans too. Even here in Singapore, the brand's been consistently building up its EV messaging. On the product front, I definitely like what we've been seeing in this country. With the first e-tron, which is the SUV, and later the e-tron Sportback, Audi has really set the template of what it imagines a premium electric SUV to be. It's high refinement, plenty of niceties, and also performance and efficiency. So the e-tron GT represents the other side of that coin. I really like that it's a low-slung sedan and not an SUV, and there's a lot more performance and handling to enjoy, as well as detailed differences that tell me that Audi is seriously tackling the challenge on all fronts. Most important of all, when you combine the e-tron GT and the RS e-tron GT that we have here today with the SUV and the Sportback launched earlier, we get a really good idea of where the EV story for Audi will go. They fly close to the values that have defined the brand for the past century, but they're interpreted in a way that's exciting and relevant for the next century.
The future is exciting, and I can't wait to see what Audi will be giving us in the realm of electric mobility in the future. Thank you so much, Julian, for joining us here. Now, they always say the proof is in the pudding. So let's find out just how fast the RS e-tron GT is compared to an actual Formula E championship car. Here goes.
Audi really wrote history.
Brilliant drive!
Motorsport is our DNA.
And that's a win!
This is what these guys have been working for.
The domination of Audi.
Audi has been very innovative when it comes to technology in motorsport.
It is a victory for Audi again.
So much racing history.
Christensen extends his record.
Of course, Audi did it again. Innovative technology with a hybrid winning Le Mans.
This is another famous win for the four hoops of Audi.
And then that was my time. Racing is the pinnacle of technologies, where technologies are pushed, are developed to the extreme, and then you can have a much better product for the roads after. The e-tron GT is for me the best car that Audi has ever produced.
The e-tron GT is a true embodiment of our Audi DNA.
It combines everything, and it's this high-performance GT, and of course the path to greater sustainability.
Nico, to prove how capable the e-tron GT really is, I'm gonna give you an edge and let you drive it
while I drive my Formula E car. And we're gonna do a sprint there on that 8-mile setup.
I'm so excited. I think it's gonna be fascinating.
Come on! I got him! I got him!
Oh, what a cool performance really from this road car. I mean, amazing, huh? Wow. And it was pulling like, we were like exactly the same performance all the way down. I lost out by like 2 meters. So awesome. I was so close. It was so close. It was very impressive. I didn't think it would get so close to the Formula E car on full race power, huh? So that was really convincing.
Now, I honestly did not know what to expect. I mean, I know the RS e-tron GT is fast, but to come in this close to the Formula E car, come on, gotta admit, that's pretty amazing. Now, we would like to welcome Marcus Schuster, Managing Director of Audi Singapore, to share a few words with us. Marcus, please.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us. The e-tron GT is the new flagship of our EV portfolio, and its arrival is a very important milestone for Audi here in Singapore. More than anything, the e-tron GT sets out to shape our brand's vision for the future. For us, tonight is more than just the launch of a new model. It's the start of greater things to come for Audi in Singapore. We believe that the future is electric, and ultimately our aim is to provide premium automotive solutions to meet that challenge head-on. Singapore is joining the race. Since the beginning of this year, the country has dramatically upped the game in terms of how EVs are received. Thanks to incentives, the costs of owning an EV have come down. More and more charging points are being installed. More than half of the respondents in a recently published survey said that they are already considering an EV as their next car purchase. At Audi, we make the transition to electric mobility as seamless as possible. I want to invite you to come and see how hassle-free the switch to electric mobility can be for you.
Now, recently, I got to drive the Audi e-tron, and honestly, I was so surprised. I was expecting it to be intimidating with a lot of gadgets inside that I didn't quite understand. But in the end, the e-tron was so easy to drive. It's smooth, it's quiet, and I tell you, when you press that pedal, oh my goodness, it goes. Super fast, so addictive, and I absolutely loved it. Now, we've covered so much tonight, but you know what? There's more. We're going to now hear from Rudy Venter, Head of Marketing for Audi here in Singapore, and he's got some pretty interesting news for you. Rudy, please.
Thank you, Yasmin, and good evening, everybody. Right now, Audi is the only premium brand that can deliver the widest selection of fully electric models here in Singapore. We started back in 2019 with the introduction of the e-tron, our first fully electric SUV. At launch, it was offered as a 355 horsepower e-tron 55, but since then we've expanded the range to also include the 308 horsepower e-tron 50. Earlier this year, the e-tron Sportback was introduced, and with its rakish design, it's undoubtedly a very stylish addition to the e-tron range. And like its conventional e-tron sibling, it's available either as an e-tron Sportback 50 or Sportback 55. And of course, tonight we premiered the RS e-tron GT, our brand shaper car. But we're also introducing the 475 horsepower e-tron GT. And when you add them all together, that gives you 6 different ways to become part of the e-tron family. Make no mistake, we at Audi are 100% committed to electrification. And that is why, over the next years, we will introduce many new and exciting fully electric models to Singapore. So make sure to keep a lookout.
With all of these fully electric Audis currently available and more to come, we are transforming premium mobility as we know it. We will do so with you at the center of everything, and I promise it will be a very exciting journey. From the team here at Audi Singapore, we invite you to join us in shaping the future together. Come to Audi Center Singapore or visit our website to find out more.
Well, we hope you've enjoyed the show, and thank you so much for joining us this evening, and we hope to see you soon.